All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the Thursday night showdown here between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Let's go on and get into it. And so it's worth calling out that this game is projected to be a very, very low scoring game. The game total is under 40 points at like 36.5, which is crazy. Okay, the Steelers are going to be favored to win by 3.5 points as well, but that really tells us everything we need to know about this game in terms of how we probably should be going about attacking it. We're probably going to end up on at least a defense, maybe even a kicker, but it's going to be a slate in which the lineups will probably be a little bit ugly. Like we're not going to get into a lot of studs because, well, we really don't have that many studs. And so let's go ahead and start out here with the Cleveland Browns. And I think it's worth calling out Nick Chubb has not been getting a lot of work. Now, could that change in this game? It could potentially change, but he's only been getting 30 to like 55% of the snaps. And the only game in which he got 55% of the snaps was that game against Baltimore, a game in which they were able to win. And so with this being a low scoring game, I do expect him to still get a decent amount of carries. But with this being a game in which the Browns are favored to lose, it's going to be tough for me to get to Nick Chubb, especially at that price tag, especially on a short week. If they are still limiting his work, I think the chances of him having a massive week on a short week is not as great. The players that I want to be getting to the most for the Cleveland Browns are going to be the receivers. And so for the receivers, let's start out with Cedric Tillman because he's kind of the first one that I really like the most. The targets have been there for him a bunch. 8 targets, 11 targets, 9 targets, 12 targets since Jameis Winston has taken over and since Amari Cooper has left as well. The snaps have been there for him. Him and Jerry Jeudy are getting about 90% of the snaps. They're both going to be great plays. To me, it's kind of a toss-up between those two. And for me, I'm like, why not just go with the cheaper one if they are basically the same value? Now, Jerry Jeudy is going to be the one that's coming in off of the good game last week, 11 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets. And so I would say his role's like, it's a good role, don't get me wrong. But with him being $1,000 more expensive, we might as well just go with Tillman, who is, getting the same volume, not coming in off of a massive game. And so people are probably less likely to be on him. Take a peek at the ownership at the end of this video. But I like Tillman the most. Now, Elijah Moore, I don't mind as well. I feel like he's going to have a nice, safe floor. He's been targeted a bunch. I feel like targeting this, the Cleveland Browns receivers is actually a good way to get a nice floor, even though it's a very difficult matchup for them. But I think it's a good route to go. And then David Njoku, he has also had a bunch of targets as well. A little bit surprised by his price tag as well. I would have assumed he would have been more expensive than Jerry Jeudy, just given the nice floor that he has had really this whole year, but especially lately with Winston, where it has been a more pass-heavy script. So I love getting to David Njoku. And then from there, if we are not playing Nick Chubb, if we are betting on this game being a game in which the Browns are playing from behind, then Jerome Ford is a decent value. I wouldn't say he's someone we need to be targeting, but he's someone that's certainly in the mix. We're going to be on Dustin Hopkins a bit. Then honestly, the Cleveland Browns defense isn't terrible, especially at this price tag. If it's going to be this low scoring of a game, again, 36.5 points is not a lot. Then I read that as, all right, well, they should at least be able to get us 5 points here. And if they do, that's a good price tag for them. From there, I don't feel like we need to be getting to any of the other kind of values that are there for Cleveland. Jameis Winston, I'm fine with as like a shoulder shrug option, as a last play into your build type of guy, but he's not someone I'm going out of my way to target. So let's go ahead now and jump into the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so from there is where we're maybe getting some of the best captains plays. Like George Pickens probably is a good captain's play. He's not like the Joe Mixon, like easy kind of go-to option for us, like on Monday Night Football, but George Pickens is fine. Like, I don't know if we need to stress it. Chances are he could have a monster game. Like, we have seen that happen a decent amount. This is a good matchup for him as well. I certainly want to be playing him. And I also do think we want to be getting to Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson might not have a monster game. Like against Baltimore, a perfect matchup for him, guys. He only ended up with 7 fantasy points, which is pretty crazy, right? Like, he should have been able to go off in that game, which should have been his best matchup of the year. Maybe the lack of passing weapons finally caught up to him, and really the lack of production in the rushing game really caught up to him. But it was a game in which they were able to establish the run game and kind of win that way. And that's how they're going to go about winning this game as well. So in a weird way, if we are not playing Russell Wilson, I think we almost have to be playing Najee Harris a decent amount, who Najee got a lot of targets last week. But I think the rushing volume is going to be there for him. And so I kind of like the idea of pairing Harris actually up with the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, kind of that correlated stack. And I think there's actually a decent chance in which the Steelers could be a good option as like a captain's play at 5.4. And again, that should correlate pretty well with the volume that Najee Harris is going to get. And so I don't mind that as an option. We got Chris Boswell there, who, if you guys have seen stuff going on like just posts about Chris Boswell on social media, he's scoring like a bunch more points than like a lot of the first or second round picks in fantasy football drafts, which it's kind of funny, but at the same time, he's a kicker, so it makes sense. But like, this is ugly. Like, Steelers D and the captain, Chris Boswell, the kicker. Obviously, we have a lot of salary left over. We don't exactly need to do this, but other plays that are certainly going to be in there. Jaylen Warren, very solid option for us as well. Just has a nice floor with the volume that it's getting in the passing game as well. But this is kind of the base of what I'm looking at. It's kind of weird, right? Like, very strange lineup path there. And so a little bit more of an optimal path would be Harris in the captain spot. We're basically betting on him scoring a touchdown. Then we're getting Steelers D, and we're still getting Chris Boswell. I really don't mind this lineup path, but let's go ahead and see what the 9-to-5 lineup builder is going to tell us is the best lineup to go with. But first, guys, do want to remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the 9-to-5 website. Make sure to use the promo code KEEPCASHING to get 20% off your first 9-to-5 membership. Take that $10 membership, make it $8 for the first month. That's for new or returning members. Get access to the cheat sheets as well as the NFL DFS lineup builder, as well as all the prop tools that you guys need to succeed. And so, yes, one of those tools would be the NFL lineup builder. We're going to go ahead and get into the showdown slate. And so I was a little bit curious about the projected ownership for some of the receivers. Judy is a little bit higher than Tillman, but it's a split as it sits right now. And I am doing this video on Wednesday. That could change on Thursday. Maybe when you guys are watching this, maybe news changes it, but did want to call that out. And so let's go ahead and get into what the 9-to-5 data is telling us is going to be the best lineup. So again, as always, going to kind of just round up here. We need to give it 2 data points to go off of, whatever. Doesn't really matter. We're going to click generate just to get an idea of what the data is telling us is going to be the most optimal route. Data ended up being much better than me on Monday night, just as an FYI, just jamming in a lot of the Texans D and Joe Mixon. But looking at this one, guys, it is trying to get to Steelers DST in the captain spot, which I don't particularly love, but it makes sense on the site. And then, yeah, Browns D get in there. I might cap it, and we are seeing it kind of naturally doing this, guys. And let me zoom in here. I might cap it to only 2 of a DST and kicker. Typically speaking, I do 1, at most 1 kicker and DST in the captain spot and in the flex. Whereas this time around, I might just cap it at 2, or maybe not cap it at all, because we're not seeing that be too much of a point of emphasis. But we are getting a mix and match of all those players. And so let's see the exposure. It is getting to Russell Wilson. And so again, I would say, and the data is saying it likes Wilson over Najee a little bit, almost double. But I would say, like, I do think it's one or the other mostly. If you guys are doing one lineup, I would say choose between one or the other. Then it's getting to a bunch of Browns D and Steelers DST. And then enough Chris Boswell as well, 40%. But I do agree with the lineups that we are getting here as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a lot. Another thing that helps out a lot is just leaving a comment in the comment section as well. It's just an easy way to help out the channel. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to that there. Link is in the description below to join. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck with your lineups. And as always, let's keep cashing.